Prem Pals is back, finally.
Hey, yeah, sorry, not sorry. Life happens, but
What, month?
interesting.
6 weeks? How long has it been since we talked? Pre-World Cup? I think it might have been
Yeah,
pre-World.
so probably a couple of months almost. But I
Yeah.
mean, a lot has happened, but then again, not the most exciting stuff until recently. The World Cup. I mean, I think we covered that enough. I think it was in a weird spot, gave some players a break, but put some other players in jeopardy, and just a really weird scenario, I think, for the world of football.
Yeah, I mean, it was good for some teams and bad because last time we talked, Tottenham were top four above Manchester United, and that is no longer the case. So what can you do? But
Oh
good World Cup,
wow.
entertaining. I mean, it wasn't in the best place, but I was thoroughly entertained by it, so can't really complain.
Yeah, for what it is, and I mean, it has its pros and cons. I liked the fact that it was just so randomly in the middle of the season that you would think that we'd be further in the season, and we're just a little over the halfway point, which is
Yeah,
just wild
it's
to
open.
think. And it's so much football being played and has been played and to be played. And I mean, we'll get into both teams how they're dealing with the insane schedule. Because
Oh,
I mean, for
it's
a year,
exhausting.
managers have moaned and bitched about it, and
Mm.
some are relevant, and some you can tell they're just trying to use an excuse for an upcoming match that they may be tough and may lose, and so they're covering ground. Being like, we have to blame it on this rigorous schedule, and some of those squads are now mid-table or in positions that we never thought we'd see them in. Liverpool, Chelsea.
Yeah. And also
Yeah,
like what's like I like to call it the James Rodriguez effect, but like I'm always curious as to
yeah,
like when
buying
players
hot
get
right after.
bought after a World Cup and the fact that a transfer window literally opened at the end of the World Cup. I mean, obviously like Enzo Fernandez is that guy, right? Most expensive transfer ever now. Um Worth it?
I mean,
Worth it?
no, and
I don't think
we'll
so.
see. I can't say no and I can't say yes
True.
because again with unfortunately I think that Potter won't make it. He won't last.
No, no way. No.
And maybe with a different manager and different training and tactics, this super team that they dropped a billion on is what it feels like. Um, can raise that level and can mesh because it's just like any other squad. You have to give them time to work out the kinks, especially buying a bunch of superstars, individual players, a lot of egos in there, a lot of big personalities, obviously with a lot of money involved. Some of them will make it and some of them won't, and we'll see if they'll gel to become the super team that this guy thought he bought,
But
or
it's
if a lot of these players will be like Harry Maguire and you spent millions of dollars on someone that you can't offload. But 8-year contract, that much money,
insane.
and he spent that entire first match or not the time he had on the pitch on the floor. I felt like he was just rolling around looking for a foul. I was just like, Bruno Fernandez, is that you in disguise there?
Dude, it's
But
my worry is it's gonna break football because like they've spent over 600 million in two windows and they've spent more than the entire, I think it's the Bundesliga, the Serie A, and maybe the
yeah,
French league combined. One team. I feel like they're just
yeah,
pushing the limits to where it's like it's just disgusting. But the good thing is that last game they drew nil nil, and you could see Todd Bowley in
just
his
yeah.
seat like this is so fucking boring. Like I spent 600 million and it
It was
sucks. Like good,
yeah. He was
good.
caught like playing games on his phone until the TV and his PR person was like, "Hey, the camera's on you."
But
He's
he
like, "Oh,
deserves it. I mean,
oh,
Chelsea has
yeah."
become. I would never think that you lose a Russian oligarch and then you become even more hated. But I think what Todd Bowley is doing is disgusting. And so I think who doesn't want to see Chelsea fail? We all want to see Chelsea fail now. It's ridiculous what they've done. So at
Yeah,
least we got that going
and
for us.
well, with what's going on, I mean, we can lead right into the fact that what's happening with City right now, like
Oh,
explosions. So you have to think that he is now
Under
checking
investigation too.
what's going on. Yeah, and being like, yo, dot the i's, shred things. What are we doing? What have we done? I don't know much about what's going on, but are we good? Are we good? And just signing the checks, there's people manipulating a lot of those things, and the charges being brought against City is not reporting the same amount of income that they're getting and spending, and they're like lying about how people who was making money and who wasn't making
Yeah.
money
Shell
and all those
sponsors,
things.
fake sponsors.
Yes, so yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
So
bad. It's damning. I mean, the evidence looks like City's fucked, but I don't know. I feel like their legal team and they're gonna find a loophole. I mean, what do you think if you had to
but
guess? Like, do you think they're gonna get out of it? Do you
I
think they're gonna get points docked? Are they gonna get relegated? Like, what do you think is gonna happen?
I think the good thing that came out of that last investigation that they had with FIFA, and they had the time law, basically the time block law, where they couldn't go back a certain amount of years because it happened too long ago for them to investigate, and there was a loophole there, and they got the slap on the wrist. And Mourinho had that big comment where he's like, if the decision goes their ways, it's disgusting. If the decision goes against them, it's disgusting, because either way, they're getting this fine. So who's to say that let's just do that because we can afford to pay that fine, if they catch us. I think the best thing that came out of that, though, is that it won't happen again. Like, it'll be at the forefront of the trial, and they'll immediately bring it to light, being like, last time these guys got off with this as the punishment. There's obviously, and they continue to do this. There's obviously no way that you can just punish them this way again. It has to be, even if they say just slightly more
But
severe
what
is
is slightly
definitely going
more
to be at least
severe? More money
docking
or
of points.
points?
Yeah.
Points this
Yeah. No, I don't.
season? I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't think that you could do the money thing, because they'll obviously be like,
they don't need it.
they'll say that in court. They'll be like, you could fine these guys 100 million and they'll be able to pay their way out. That's not going to show any other
Yeah.
club or institution that they can't do the same thing if they have the backing. You have to do something that is literally just like Super League, when they came to the table and they're like, all right, if you do this, the consequences is you are out of the FIFA competition, or the competitions that we do, Champions League, like severe
But do you think that's going to happen? I
repercussions.
mean, I agree with you
Well,
100%,
I
but I
think I
just
think
don't
that
see
they'll
it
bring
happening.
the highest of those um, repercussions to the table, with the least of it being, if anything, you have to deduct points. So I think that a deduction of points, people, they've already gone in early and said 15 points. I think it'll be like 10 points deductions and a big fine.
But like,
Like,
as a
I don't
Tottenham
there's that I
supporter,
don't think they're going to do relegation.
no.
A thing is that you have to think about is, cheating or not, it is a business. And watching that documentary that was, I think, on like Apple TV about the Super League, the funds that come out of it, that event, that trickle down to the lower English leagues and things like that, the money that gets spent because big teams like that win, you can't just take it off the table. You can't, even if it was false funding or whatever, to take them and put them down into championship league. It's like you're now taking a resource away from some of the bigger leagues. Like, it's just, people tune in to watch City get beat. Like
Yeah.
like I know, as being a Manchester United fan, you want results to go your way, but also during the weekend, as the season goes on, you're watching other results to help you. So watching Liverpool in dire straits right now, it's entertainment. I watch it even if I know that the outcome is going to be, they may lose by one or they may tie. Like, you're watching it because that is the entertainment of the English Premier League.
Yeah. But is
So
that a good enough
taking
reason to keep
taking
them
away
up?
from that,
Like, I think that's
and
kind of
because what
unfair
because
too big to fail,
our, yeah, it's 100% unfair, but our money isn't invested in it. So at the end of the day, whatever goes on behind the scenes, we can say like, oh, they need to be, all the Premier Leagues that they won from 2009 to 2018 need to be stripped. They need to be penalized 15 points, and they need to be relegated. We can say that, but the businessmen behind it are going to look at all those things and be like,
Well,
Man,
also, man, if
broadcasting rights, all that
City
stuff,
loses 15 points,
Excuse
then
me.
Arsenal's going to win the title. So as a Tottenham fan, I don't even want that to happen this season, at least. I mean, the whole thing's fucked, but I mean, I think it's I'm happy this is happening. I'm happy it's bringing light. I mean, it's gonna happen with Chelsea. Newcastle's probably going to be the same. I mean, actually, United spent more than any other club, so it's a bit different. But I think United spend it in a more legitimate way. So I mean,
Exactly, and
I hope
that's the
what
reasoning.
comes of this is a little bit more seriousness over financial fair play. But I'm not optimistic. I think they're going to get a slap on the wrist and a fine, and then it's going to be like, fuck it, let's just keep violating and paying fines. And it's bullshit, man. I hate it.
I think with the rise, the reaction that we saw from the entire fan base of the English Premier fan base, I think it's going to be hard for them to get away with it the way they did when they saw that protests and things like that stopped the Super League dead in its tracks
Yeah.
by everyone going to their matches right before the match and protesting and stopping matches. If the fans do the same thing because it's City, and it's like if we get City kicked out, it's not a huge loss from the fans' point of view. It's like everyone's known that the joke the running joke of like their history began in like 2008 or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
it it it
It's
wouldn't be a
true.
massive loss. It's like not a lot of people remember Blackburn Rovers dominated for a long time, and you're just kind of they have more Premier Leagues than some clubs. Tottenham. Anyway,
Forget about that.
anyway, let's stay back on track here. But like when you drop and you fade, I don't look at like today. They were on Hulu's some they were playing Wigan or something like that, and just I put it on and I was just watching the match and I was just like, this used to be a powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's wild. So like if someone like City, obviously we can't see it now because we've seen all this success in quotes that people listening to on Spotify. It's it'd be weird for a little bit, but I mean Pep would leave yesterday. And then the club would just, I mean, it'd be strange, but it
But
wouldn't be
someone
something that
else, I
every
mean,
fan would be like, "Oh my God."
yeah, but another club, like, I think there needs to, a precedent needs to be set because, like, I mean, we're looking at
Yeah,
amount of like Middle
agreed.
Eastern ownership. Now it's Newcastle. What club's next? I mean, there's been talks about a Qatari fund putting money into Tottenham. And there's a lot of talks about with amongst Tottenham
United too,
supporters,
yeah.
like, is this what we want? Is this not what we want? Well, if football's going that way, well, of course it's what we want because we want to be able to compete. But also, like, we've managed to grow talent. We've managed to compete in doing things relatively the right way. So I don't know, man. I hate it. I hope that they get absolutely screwed and relegated. And I don't care about the implications with Arsenal winning and all that. I just think we have to set
Well,
some
I
sort
mean,
of precedent.
you have to slow on the Arsenal winning thing. It's like they dropped points. They've dropped
Everton.
points, and this week, yeah, watching Son Dykes go and do a job. It's like
Love it.
you gotta love it.
Yeah.
And the thing is blood in the water for any team, especially a team like Arsenal who can be found out. Like you have to shut down certain elements of Arteta's game, and a lot of it midfielder. I mean, we know who the VIPs are on that squad. You pocket some of them, and Ten Hag is totally the guy that analyzes the game in that sort of way. So I'm not saying that we have the best chance of winning the title, but I can't say that we can make up those points because in the last like 5 or 6 years, there's been big gaps, in
Oh,
between first and second.
it's possible
Watching
Arsenal
City,
doesn't win,
especially, yeah, it's watching City
but
catch up and beat Liverpool, a team like Liverpool, which I think that Liverpool team is 10 times better than this Arsenal squad right now. So it's doable, it's
yeah, it's
doable.
doable. But like Gabriel Jesus, like getting injured, we talked about Arsenal like last year, and we're like, oh, like a key injury like that, and they're fucked. And Ketia has been great. Like they're doing a lot better than I expected. But I mean, if you can take the emotions out and take yourself away from being a United supporter, take myself away from being a Spurs supporter, if you had to bet your right hand on Arsenal winning the title or not, emotions removed, do you think they're going to win the title this year?
No,
Really? I I
I
want I
really
want
don't
to
think
say
so.
that too, but I don't know how confident I am.
Yeah. I mean,
Really?
I'm not gonna rewind some of our previous talks about how results come about, but I've been pretty accurate on some pretty key things on Prem Pals where we've come around and been like, oh yeah, that came to fruition.
I mean, I think that you think that United are going to win. I definitely don't think United are going to
I
win.
I mean, I obviously want them to win. It the thing is that I mean we'll get to that, but there's there's a lot of games, and
A lot
you
of
you
games.
can't look at any squad and think that playing 3 times a week is achievable with Ten Hag's first season to win Carabao Cup, Premier League, and FA Cup, like a treble that you bought from Wish, basically type scenario. I mean, I love the progression that we're in. I love what's going on, but you see what happened. Like if we would have won the game against Arsenal if Casemiro didn't get his yellow card. He just changes that whole midfield, and we've been struggling for so long to get a CDM, and they weren't listening. They'd rather get another high name striker or something like that. But here, no, there's just so much football to be played. So every team is just injuries away from
So you're, but
not
like going
not
back to the
not
original
extending, and
question, you're
except for
betting
Chelsea.
your right hand being cut off. If Arsenal win the league, your hand gets cut off. If they don't, then you keep it. You're betting that they don't win the league. That's how confident you are they're not going to win. Because I wouldn't take that bet. I would say they're going to win the league.
See this guy right over here. This guy, he lost his right hand,
All
and he did all right. And
right.
people on Spotify is pointing to a Star Wars poster behind me at Luke Skywalker. So,
I appreciate
yeah,
the confidence. I
yes.
love it.
You kind of have to not just have that, but I think that United have that type of confidence as well. The matches that we have played, you can kind of see that this really scrappy match, even against Crystal Palace. The defense has been super key, and you kind of lock that down, and the rest can kind of follow or shape into a win. And that because that wasn't like a scrappy win, it was more so of like a team locking it down and being like, all right, you know, we're here, and we may not look super fun now with 10 men going forward, but we can still put up a united performance. And that's what I saw. Like I didn't see like in previous years where you obviously and granted he did put in more defenders. We had to pull off Ganacho even though he had just been subbed in. It's it's easier to watch, easier on the eyes because you know that they have a plan, not just like park the bus, do everything you can to stop them, and we still leak a goal. This
Yeah.
is a general performance to where it gets past some players. And you're like, it's fine. Martinez will scoop that up. He will. Wan-Bissaka, he's on a good run right now, and especially against Crystal Palace, he's going to scorpion spider that ball. So like, there's just a different mentality watching. What I don't have any hate towards Ollie, one of the greats to do it, but there was always a fear, and the squad and just having McFred in the middle, it's just different. And I think that goes for every team except for obviously Chelsea. That's what I do worry about with that big spending, and everyone's like, oh, they bought all these players and they're going to fail. Eventually, when they do mesh and they figure out who the starting 11 is, that bench is going to be ridiculous. And how
Yeah.
long they stay there, not being first team players on those big wages, we'll see. But for a period, they're going to make up ground either the end of this season or they're going to be great at the beginning of next season and then have to sell some of the big guys in next in January. But there's so much football to be played that I don't think that even a team like Arsenal, who's on a great run, has a strong enough bench to say that they can just go on a straight title
Yeah.
sweep like City would. Like City, when
Yeah.
City was in these positions at this time, they had a ridiculous bench, and they didn't even have Erling Haaland at the time, and that's just a whole nother
Yeah.
topic because
Well,
he's not doing it. I mean,
let's get into
Kane's
City.
outdoing him right now.
Let's
Yeah.
get into the results at the weekend. Tottenham
Okay.
Hotspur 1, Manchester City 0.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna throw a fact your way. No, I'm gonna throw a question your way. How many times has Pep Guardiola won at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium since the new stadium was built? He's played there 5 times.
What was that now?
How many
What was the question?
times has Manchester City beat Tottenham at home since
Zero,
0?
zero, zero.
How many
Five
goals have they
times.
scored? 0.
Zero,
How crazy is
zero.
that?
Yeah.
City has never beat
Yep.
Tottenham or even scored a goal since we put
One
in.
nil, 2-0, 2-0, 1-0, 2-0, 1-0.
Something
I
like
know the
that. Yeah,
scores because
but
I just
it's
saw
but
it
it's
the other, I
crazy. I
saw
mean,
it the other.
we're their bogey team and it's awesome. And we always play well against them. I will say their lineup choices are weird. I don't know why. I thought Grealish had a really good game, but not starting Kevin De Bruyne when he's healthy makes no sense to me. And like, why would you not start that player if you have him on your team every single game? He's fit. It's crazy to me. Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was a fluke. I mean, we did score off of a mistake they made. But I mean, I felt like we really
That's
had
all
a
it takes,
great
though. That's
performance.
all it
Yeah.
takes. But it wasn't it wasn't a smash and grab. It was an early on enough goal to where a City team that's of the last 10 years would have caught up and. But I mean, again, superstition has a lot to do with it, and you get in people's heads. And Erling Holland, I felt, was trying to go in there and just bully the game because your defense is suspect. I mean, you have to admit, it is suspect.
Oh, our defense is very
Um,
suspect, but did you
yeah,
see what
and
happened early
If
on?
Dyer puts an actual performance in, and it's kind of like Harry Maguire when when they're both like England, when they know they're in a space where they're like, I got this, and they have an on game, they both do a great job at what pocketing whoever is up in front of them, but they're obviously not consistent enough. So I think that Erling Holland and Pep went in there just like, hey, just give this guy the ball opportunities, put it in the mixer, we'll make it work. Because with Grealish, as much as I mean, I wanted him to come to United. I really wish that
I wanted
he
him to
would
come to
have.
Tottenham.
He's not producing a lot though.
No,
Like when he gets in that final third and he tries to get those curling shots there. I mean, I say that, and he put a header in against us, which is kind of a fluke because he's not the type to be that target man in the box that did that type of a header.
but he's
But
industrious. Like where Riyad Mahrez has end product, and last time we played City, Riyad Mahrez just torched us. Uh, Grealish has he's industrious. Like he was up and down. He was defending well. He made good tackles. He was physical. Like he's a good player. But I mean, Emerson Royale had him in his pocket, which is ironic because he's a player that everyone was calling for his head a couple months ago. But let's go back to the defense for a second. I agree. Tottenham defense is suspect. Ben Davies is not good enough. Eric Dyer's not good enough. You know who is good enough is Cuti Romero, World Cup winning Cuti Romero. He got a red card this game, and that's
I was about to say,
always
yeah.
possible with him because he's fucking crazy. But what he did in the beginning was take a challenge on Erling Holland that was completely unnecessary. Hardest slide tackle I've ever seen. Fucked him up early on, got a yellow for it. But after that, Holland was a little bit timid around him because he plays like that. He plays like, I will fuck you up if you get in my area. Now, that's great sometimes, bad other times because he gets a red card. But I mean, he was phenomenal that game, blocking shots in everybody's face. I mean, he is. I know you have sort of his counterpart, the Butcher at Man United, and I think you have similar feelings on the way they play. I think Lissandro Martinez is maybe not quite as good and a little more buttoned up. He's not quite as crazy, but I mean, fuck, man, what a fun player to watch. Like he goes all in every single challenge, and that's good, but also can be a risk. But I love the way these Argentines defend. It's like they're defending for
Yeah.
their lives.
And yeah, I mean, obviously my view is exact same for Lissandro Martinez. I think he's 100% more focused than Romero because just what he plays the center back position to an extent where he drifts into like CDM role sometimes, because he has that confidence and he has that foresight. So when he goes in on a 50-50 ball, he's already looking at the outcome of when the ball comes out, where he's going next. And that's helped again with that confidence. That even as a viewer watching that, that he has that football mentality, the smarts of it, that it's just so impressive to watch. Where I
No
feel
lack
like
in
Romero's
confidence.
can kind of be a little bit of a loose cannon, and I hate that pity, that feeling that you get in the pit of your stomach when they go in for 50-50, and it's just like, dude.
Oh, for sure.
Like, like
That's
you
his
don't want to see
negative.
the replay. You don't want, and
Yeah.
we've had defenders like that. Um, I just lost who was Eric Bay. He was very similar. Loved his enthusiasm, but sometimes he would go in, you're just like, no, bro, like, or handball in the wrong, like, it's just, you can't feel safe with that. And if you don't have three other guys in the back there that can support that type of play, then you get really worried, because, like, if something happens there and you don't have someone like Varane, like we have, that's like, calm down. I got calm. I'm going to hold the ball, put it back to De Gea, or I've got this, get it out. Luke Shaw, calm down. Malacia, I like Malacia a lot. I think he is a good understudy to Luke, and I like it when he starts because he brings a different dynamic to it. So yeah, it's all, the defense has to be buttoned up like that, and having Aaron Wan-Bissaka come in and give our starting right back, a run for his money. Delo is just like looking from the sidelines, like, where did this guy come from? Now he can play up, forward. So
Yeah, I mean, it depends
as a
on
United,
formation though. Like when you're playing with three center backs, one can be a bit more aggressive and move up the pitch. And Romero's also good in possession, like Lisandro Martinez. But you got to realize Romero's even younger than Lisandro Martinez. He just turned 24. Like for a for a center back, that's super young. And I mean, his defensive side of the game, I mean, I think he's top three center backs in the league, but he's got a mistake and he's got injury problems and he's a hothead and can make things. But I mean, when it comes to defending, I mean,
yeah,
dude
I was
is
about to say your
fucking
statistics say otherwise, though,
raw, dude.
because how many games did you guys have in a row where you got scored on first?
Yeah, but you got to
I think it was
realize that
something like 11,
his
is it?
partners are
Yeah,
Eric Dyer and
but
Ben
that is
Davies.
exactly what I was just discussing. That's
Yeah, you got to
exactly
have
what
the
I was
right
just, it's like,
partnership with that.
you have to have, because we originally were chatting about the defense as a whole, and like
Yeah, it's a unit.
how I think that, like, having that type of defense builds that type of confidence. Hence why I think that with a team like City coming at you guys, I think that they had that in the books. It's like, look at their stats. Look how, let's get that early goal. And especially against us, it's hard to get that confidence to come back, and they just didn't. Bernardo Silva didn't produce the magic. It's like a lot of them were just like,
We bossed
they
the
were
midfield
subpar.
for once. I mean, Højbjerg and Bentancur
Yeah.
were excellent in the middle, and I thought that was a big thing. But let's talk about the highlight of the game, Harry fucking Kane. Like 267 goals for Spurs. He just is the number one scorer all time for Tottenham Hotspur. 200 Premier League goals. There's only two players in history of the Premier League who've scored more goals. Name those players. Two players. That's it. And then,
Wayne Rooney
yep,
and Alan Shearer.
yep. He's gonna get there, man. He's gonna beat it unless he gets transferred to
Well,
Bayern or
because
something.
Wayne Rooney is only like what, 208 or something like that,
Yeah,
206, 208. So
yeah.
he's definitely got that one where Alan Shearer was like
240 or
220.
something,
Oh,
or
really? 240?
227. I can't remember. So between 20 and 40 something. But yeah, I don't like Kane, man. He just keeps scoring and scoring and scoring. Like we don't deserve him. And
Rooney. Yeah, I know.
you think
What are you
what's
gonna do?
Kane?
Are you gonna still wear that kit when he comes to United?
Let's talk about that. So like I think that's a genuine possibility. Let's see what happens. I mean, if we get top four, Conte stays. I think Kane will stay. If we don't get top four, Conte leaves, which is a good possibility. I think Kane's crazy not to leave. Honestly, I wouldn't even be mad. He should leave. I think going to Bayern is a possibility, but if he wants to break all the records, he's got to go to United. There's no other top Premier League team that he fits in. He would fucking slay at United, in my opinion. What do you think? What are United people saying? You guys want him? Is that your main target for the summer? I mean, what do you think?
So the rumor mill is that everybody at the higher ups in United, they want him as their number one target. I can say all the usuals that people have probably heard on other podcasts and YouTube predictions, but his age
28.
concern because Ten Hag's mentality now, and he keeps saying it, is like, we're not trying to achieve the most this season. We're trying to build a foundation that we can create a dynasty, and it's going to take a while. The little successes that we're getting right now, I love it, but in his mind, he's looking down the road at big things. And I heard a gentleman off United Stand say, I think it's for Charlie, he mentioned a really good point though, because we're looking at Osman as well from Napoli, and I love that. I think that's perfect. But he's like, who's to say though that we get him in? He does really well for 2 or 3 years, and then wants to go somewhere like Real Madrid or Barca anyway. So like, aren't you kind of like saying no to someone who is Premier League proven and know will come in and get you goals and help with trophies immensely in Harry Kane for a young kid that you're trying to develop that will leave the club if the money's right, or they want to go somewhere else. So like,
Yeah.
I get that. That's a really good point. And so I like Harry Kane personally. I like Kane. I think that he'd be phenomenal. I wish that we would have gotten him like a year ago. I think now that he has broken that record, I think it's a perfect time. If anything, since if he's not going to win trophies with Tottenham, that he leaves on such a good note that way, that he did the most for the club that he could, and he's already put off two big approaches. Because no one knows how that City contract actually was, and
Yeah.
I think that like he could have done what like we saw Anthony do for us, where you go on strike and you just don't practice and don't show up and force the move, even though we paid way too much for him. But I think he's got respect for the club and the fans, and I think that he's done what achieved that goal now for him. So if he were to leave, it sucks, not sucks, but it's harsh reality to know that even at his age, he's still going to go for like 90 mil. It's like,
He's
80, 90.
28. Yeah, I mean, I
But I'm
think
just saying, like, there's not besides Ronaldo and some players that brought a lot of attention and social media hype that go for that much at that age. It's like, you name
yeah, but I
someone
mean, look
in
at
the last couple of transfers that went for that much at that age.
yeah, because a lot of people run out their contracts. But I mean, if you look at like Lewandowski, if you look at some of these strikers, like the difference between Kane and
Lewandowski's the best
Osimhen,
striker in the world right now.
now better than Kane right now. Are you kidding me? Not a chance. Not right now. Maybe last year for sure, but not with Barcelona. I disagree. I think Kane's better. Kane scored almost every single goal this entire season, in almost every single game, and we're not even very good. But my point is, Kane doesn't. His physical doesn't matter. Like Osimhen, to me, Osimhen, I love the guy. I wish he would come to Tottenham. I fucking love Napoli right now. But he is a better version of Rashford and Martial. He's a speedy striker. He's not physical.
The thing is, we're putting Martial on the selling block.
Yeah, that makes sense. But he's that mold.
They announced it today.
Harry Kane's more of a hold-up play striker. He's more of a Lewandowski. He's more of a Haaland type. And that's so it's a different dynamic for United. But it's also like you can play longer, right? He doesn't rely on speed. He doesn't rely on physicality. He just has great technique. And so I actually think at 28, I mean, he's well worth over 100 million. I think he will play into his mid 30s, no problem, because he doesn't rely on the physicality of it. But I unfortunately think he would fit great with United. And if he went, I would have no ill will for him whatsoever. We take that money, we rebuild, whether that's Conte or Pochettino or a new manager, whatever. But I don't know, man. Like I think people are writing off and underestimating Tottenham. I mean, we're 3 points behind you, and we've won 3 on the bounce. We beat City. We just signed a $50 million right wing back, one of the best right wing backs in Europe. And that was the biggest problem, is we didn't have good wing backs, and wing backs are everything for Conte's system. I think.
And why did you guys buy Spence? I'm telling you, I don't.
We loaned him out.
Why. Yeah,
I don't know.
You blocked
that's a good
us
point.
from getting him, and
It's a good point.
We definitely wanted him. But you're
Conte
also three
hated
points
him.
behind
I
us,
don't
and
know.
we have a game in hand, and we're rolling right now. We're cooking.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
agree. But I mean, I wouldn't write Tottenham
it.
off for not being Tottenham like top four. Absolutely not. Like I think Newcastle are shaky, City are shaky, Arsenal are shaky. I think United looks good now, but you never know what it's going to look like. I think if we get top four, I can't see Kane leaving. I really can't, but we'll see. I don't know.
I say you guys get top six for sure. I'm not sure
Oh,
on
for
the top
sure.
four.
I mean, who would
The
you put
reason
top
why
four?
the reason why I'll get to that. The reason why I am a firm believer for United sticking it out is because of the discipline that Ten Hag has put into the squad, into the training. It's so about discipline, and every player has mentioned how happy the dressing room is, but at one point, it's like they had to put in a lot of work, and they still are. And he doesn't put up with anything. You saw Rashford not starting that one match because he was late to a team meeting on the weekend, and he took that and it was like, yeah, I get it. But that type of discipline is like, if you can't do the job, we'll find someone that will. It doesn't matter what the public think about the player behind you. Like everyone is working, and he's developing players. Like we've seen Wan-Bissaka, when they come on the pitch, you can tell that they've been working on their weaknesses and strengths. So he's actually developing players to, hey, your chance will come. Like if this player doesn't show up on time for a meeting, you're in. It's like, and that's your time to shine. And look how excited Woot is to be on the squad. He's not like coming in and gonna bag a bunch of goals, but he's doing the job that he was hired to do, which is to drag strikers, make and be intimidating in the box, pull away so it opens up spots for Bruno to have an open shot. And Bruno's been producing assists and goals now left and right. And not that he hasn't been, but it's just a job. So I think that the resilience of the training that Ten Hag is putting in and the quality that he's bringing, I think we stick to top four, and maybe we don't win the title or go on a crazy like close title race. But I think he's put us in a position where I can confidently say that second or third place. So top four for me would be either us or Arsenal in first, and I just don't see it. But I could see.
Yeah, I think you, Arsenal, and City are probably nailed on. But I think that top four spot, it's not Liverpool. It's not Chelsea. It's either
Oh,
Newcastle.
Liverpool.
It's either Newcastle or Spurs. And I don't think Newcastle's got it, man.
Or
I think
it's gonna be Brentford
I mean that'd be
or
amazing, but
Brighton
no,
or
I don't see it.
Brighton.
I think Tottenham
I
gets
could see
fourth. Easy.
I could see Brighton pulling it off.
They're great. I mean,
You guys
I have
got
mad respect for both of those teams. I think they've been run really well. And I mean, to your point, yeah, I agree with you. I think Ten Hag's a fantastic manager. And I think he's more of a looking at United for the long term. But one thing I think you're not considering is United are up on the selling block, and it depends on who buys you, right? Like one of the problems with Tottenham now is that the owner is a billionaire. However, he looks at Tottenham as a way to make money, not as a way to just Roman Abramovich a club and have glory, right? So
no, we're
all
in
the
there.
money that
Yeah.
we produce, we reinvest in the club, but we're not just getting like millions of dollars for random transfer fees. So if you were to get an owner who had that mentality and was just like, I see this as a good investment, I'm looking to grow the asset. I'm not necessarily just some crazy guy from the Middle East that wants to win championships. Things could change, but I think you're in on an excellent trajectory for the first time. Ten Hag is the best manager you've had in years. I would love him
That's
at
the biggest
Tottenham.
thing. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that we're holding on to is progression. And
Yeah.
I think that every United fan, no matter where you stood before he was hired, it just feels good to know that like you're in a spot that where we see Arsenal now, 3 years into their project. We're only 6 months into the project, and we've leveled up. Like there's definitely that same conversation going on that Arsenal fans were having with haters or rival fans. It's a plan. There's a project. Just got to believe in the process. And that took 3 years now, and there was like, how many times were there like Arteta out,
Yeah.
even the
Even
fans,
last season, Arteta out.
yeah, yeah. Where we and out in 6 months are having that same exact conversation, skipping all the negative parts of it, and not due to results, because Ollie got results. Ollie came in and had like an 11-game win streak himself, like, and that's how he got the permanent job. it's a different type of mentality to where you're going there and you're not like biting your nails like, I mean, this could go either way. I don't know. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter who we're playing. We could lose to the bottom of the table. Now, at least we're going into matches where we have that mentality. It's like we could beat them. We could beat them. Yeah, I mean, we
Oh,
could
for
beat them.
sure.
And the starting lineup and like his tactics and substitutions have just really been impressive. Like, do I agree with every one of them? No. I mean, anytime Fred gets on the pitch, I still worry, but I do believe that he knows the players well enough and the skill sets for each player that when he makes those subs, I just have confidence. Like even when I'm at the Bulldog, which is a pub here in Denver, shameless plug, you should go and check it out, British Bulldog. Um, but being there, the environment and you know what it's like, and even being there, not having to turn away or go and order a drink because you have a fear that the opposing side is going to score. I don't have that fear right now, and that's what feels good.
Yeah. No, you guys are unquestionably in a good direction, but I also think like Ten Hag is inexperienced at the top level. I think you're Alessandro Martinez and Casemiro injury away from being not a top four side. Like I do think that your team right now is a little thin in terms of relying on top players, especially Casemiro, because you know who comes in if Casemiro's injured is going to be Fred. But like, I mean,
Well, now Sabitza is going to be shoved around in there, and we're going to have to make some adjustments. And
he's a
we're
good
looking at
player, very good. He
yeah,
was
and we're
linked to us
looking at
for
putting
years.
Lindelof at CDM because he's played there before, and he played there recently. Last couple matches, snuck in there, and then we shift over Luke Shaw to center back if Lissandro Martinez gets injured, and Luke Shaw has been phenomenal at left center back. Like his stats were
Yeah,
ridiculous.
he's had a resurgence for sure.
And then you have him, but at center back, not at left back.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he's
yeah. No, no,
played
no.
center.
At left sided
Yeah,
center back, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have Malacia on the outside left. We're good. We're good. The defense is back on back. And God forbid, not God forbid, but if Varane goes down again, you have Harry. And the redeeming quality of that is he knows he's on the chopping block, or if anything for his career that he's going to have to move. So he's going to put a window shopping performance. He's going to do the best he can, no matter if he knows he's staying or going. And so that's something that you can look at with confidence. Is like, he's going to put his all in there because he cannot afford to have any blunders
Yeah.
like
It's a good mentality.
when he knew he was starting, So yeah, our defense, I mean, we don't have three behind them to come and back them, but we do have options because now Delo and Wamsaka are fighting off on the right over there. Midfield with Sabitzer coming in, I think that we'll be able to push up a little bit further if we can find the right person to sit in that pocket, and it may take to where we're moving people around. I mean, I think Lindelof can do the job. He just won't be as creative as Casemiro, obviously. I think that he'll just be more of a stopper or just like a link up guy from the defense to the midfield, but he's not going to be like seeing these crazy lanes and making cross the field passes, even though he's gotten quite a few assists from the back up to Rashford last season. So I think that like we can do a job, and having that mentality right now and having those answers to that question that you just said is so different in the contrast from last season. It's just, but last season you would mention that scenario and I'd be like, you're right. We're fucked. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we
I think you guys are
Fred and
nailed
McTominay
on
as it.
top
So
four.
that's just my, I mean, that's just my perspective, and a lot of people, and especially being the president of the fan supporters group here, a lot of the people are just, they're having a better time viewing them because you know that there is a plan and there are
And you're doing
backups
well.
and yeah, well, and if someone gets injured, we're not like, oh, that's the end of it. Obviously, every time Casemiro goes off, and let's just talk about that right now, that red card against Palace. I mean, any way you cut it, it's a red card because his hands touched whatever that guy's name's neck. From many different angles, you can tell he was trying to put his hands like on his chest to stop him, and they went up to his neck, and He's just holding him
It is
back.
a red card.
And,
I mean,
but afterwards, he didn't like drop to the ground and be like, oh, he was choking me. Did anyone see that? Like ref, whatever.
yeah.
It was the VAR ref that went back after the penalty. And if you slow-mo it, there's players from Crystal Palace doing the same thing. Someone did that to Fred. It's just like you can say he did this, that, but it wasn't consistent. It is what it is. It's done. It's a red card. Can't put your hands on people's necks. Casemiro knew it when he was walking off. He did the conscious thing like that. Rashford is like, it's all the way you viewed it, but he wasn't trying to commit a foul. But either way, it's done. Now, how do we move forward without him? We've done it. And like I said, we're gonna have to switch it up. It's just, you're right. It's a huge loss. For me, though, it's not even about him missing these games. It's how do we find a replacement for him in a couple of years? It's like, who are we going to be looking at that's going to fill that role? Because we can't.
No one can fill that role like
forward.
He can.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the best,
not
one of the best on earth.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not an
so that's what concerns me. So it's not even that like we would be out of the running this season. It's more of like we have to start thinking long term, and I'm sure that Ten Hag has a plan. But I mean, I don't even know who I would look at for a creative CDM like that right now out there. I mean, you guys got Basuma, and I thought that he was.
We got a gaggle of them in Bentancur, Højbjerg, Basuma. I think Oliver Skip's going to be a good player as well. We almost have too many. We need more creatives. But no, you can't replace the Casemiro. But I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone would disagree with you in your optimism of United right now. But I do think that people are more down and pessimistic about Tottenham, whereas I actually think we're in a pretty damn good place considering, Conte literally wasn't even at the game this weekend. He had his gallbladder removed. 2 of his best friends died in the last month. And one of our assistant coaches, like, dude's gone through fucking hell on a personal level. And yet we've maintained pretty good. He's finally filled a role that's super, super important to us in right wing back. And we're yet to see this guy play, but he could be money. And, what's different about him and Ten Hag is he's won everything with big, big clubs. And so like, I think, I don't know. I'm quietly confident that everyone's talking about Arsenal, United, and City, and we're going to kind of sneak in. I'm not talking about a title challenge, but I think that people are not realizing that Tottenham are a pretty strong squad right now. So I'm quietly optimistic that we'll kind of sneak into the top 4, but I'm just
How many
sad about
seasons
Arsenal.
have you said this? How many seasons have you said this about Tottenham?
Yeah, but
for as long as I've known you.
But we've been in the Champions League more regularly than United in the last decade. So, we're a Champions League team.
Is that the goal, though? Just to be in top 4? That's it.
Yeah, you got to think.
That's your highest achievement. That's all you want.
Yeah, okay.
No trophyless.
If we could spend what you could spend.
But as long as we're getting the money from the UC.
Yeah, you got to
look at the stadium you guys just built. Look at the stadium you guys just built. You can't act like you don't have money.
Yeah, that's like 10 years to
spend it like we do.
Yeah, like it's
yeah.
Look, when you're competing with transfer budgets like Arsenal, United, and City, it's tough, man. It's super, super tough. Our superstar we grew since he was a child, and he's from right down the road. It's much, much different than buying. We have no CDM. Let's just Harry Kane. Let's just go buy the best.
How many times did you see that picture pop up this weekend? He's like, it's one of our own. And then they show the picture of him in the Arsenal kit.
No, he was
as a kid in the Arsenal kit. Yeah, come on. You can't say his childhood clothes. Like literally.
Yeah, he played 6 months in Arsenal's academy. What are you
for me, it'd be the same thing. Like it'd be, Norwich or something, Ipswich. That's, the area that I would be supporting if someone brought up a picture of me when I lived in England and the kits I was wearing. So, but is that my childhood club?
He's from Chigwell, man. He's a Tottenham supporter since he was a kid. Arsenal are South London club. Arsenal were in South London when he was a child. It's completely different. But my point is it's tough, man. It's tough when you have teams. I'm not saying United has cheated in terms of what they're buying, but the amount United has spent more than any club in the Premier League by far. The fact that you haven't achieved success is kind of humorous because you just buy the best player every year. It's much different for Tottenham, right? Like we have to buy players, grow them and all that. So, I think relatively, do I think we can win a title anytime soon. No, I mean, we have a manager who's only been with us a year and a
Oh
half,
God, that's gutting
but
to hear you say that. Like,
it's realistic. It's got to be
I,
realistic.
I know, I know, I know. But I as a United fan, if I had that thought, the mentality, because like even though it's been years, 5 years since we won like a trophy, to think that like every year you're not going to have an opportunity, just gutted. I'd be gutted knowing that like
Yeah, but it's
we're not
realistic.
going to
Like
win the title
United
for
hasn't
like
had an
5 or 6 years.
opportunity in so long. I would argue that Tottenham's had more opportunity than United in the last decade every year.
I mean, we've been second place a couple of, I mean, second place is first loser, but even
Yeah.
during some of our really shoddy seasons, uh, Mourinho and Ollie have both
Well, and you
hit
won the Europa
peaks
League.
where,
You won some
yeah,
silverware
but
there, and
still,
that's
but
great.
but I'm just saying, like we've been in the conversation a few times, whereas
Yeah.
Tottenham, again, the word comes up, Spursy. No matter what, it's like you can count on you guys to hit a lull, and you're just like, what? How? I mean, it's just, I
Yeah, but
mean,
it's
same team, same
it's
squad. You beat City. It's the same ones that got beat by a numerous bottom of the table squads. It's
it's a
just like,
mentality, man.
how?
I think it's a mentality. Like I think that there's literally a mentality in the club that prevents us from winning things. Like it's I don't understand it. I don't want to call Spursy because there's been just as many moments of like holy shit we overcame the odds as holy shit we didn't overcome the odds. Like I mean if you look at our
Right.
Champions League run, I mean you could argue that was one of the most exciting Champions League runs in the history of the tournament. That was insane. Now it ended really poorly, but beating City, beating Ajax, beating Inter Milan, it was great. Beating Dortmund, it was crazy. But I agree. It is, but I don't know. It's all I know. All I know is supporting Tottenham. So I've never had those
Yeah.
expectations. I never feel like we're
Uh,
going to win the title ever. But my expectation is top four. If we get top four, I'm excited. If we could pepper in like an FA Cup here and there, I'd be stoked. If we can eventually work towards
you
that, I'm happy. But
you I think you need to set the bar first. Just like, why not focus on the Carabao Cup? Like, you could, if you put your
it's
strongest
not enough
team
money in
forward.
it. That's the
I
problem.
know, but
Like,
it's silverware. You have to get fans chanting that, and the debate of like, you guys haven't won silver, even though it's a Bugs Bunny award. It's becoming more prestigious. You see every squad, like even City, and we're all playing strong squads. We 100% have gone in every match with the same starting lineup that we would if we were in Champions League. We are putting for, it's becoming a more, same with FA. For like 10 years, FA kind of fell off. It was kind of like, well, let's sprinkle in a couple of our starters, and then the
yeah,
backup,
sure.
some guys that need chances, some minutes. But now it's like everyone's going hard for these things. It's like everybody wants silverware to mean something, and to do that, you have to be going against good competition. So, I mean, I think they're a worthy cause. Like, you
It's money,
can't take
dude. It's money
for
and
granted. Yeah,
prioritization of resources. So like we're in the Champions League, like we're out of the group in the Champions League. We have to prioritize that. If we don't get top four, the amount of money we won't earn will fuck us. Like it's not like we're United. It's not like we can just buy players. It's really important for us to get top four for us to have enough money to hit transfer targets we want. So if we were going to prioritize Carabao Cup, then we may not finish top four, and then we're fucked financially. So like when you're a club like Tottenham, like every fucking dollar matters. It's not like, oh, we want the glory. Like it's really fucking hard when you have the amount that United and Arsenal and City are spending to keep up, as you can see. And Chelsea, like it's just insane. So I mean, I think the club looks at these things completely financially. Like, we fired Mourinho the day before the Carabao Cup final. That's the stupidest thing in the world. However, like there was something in his clause that was astronomical to pay out if he had won a cup. So they made a choice. Like we would rather not have glory because we're trying so hard to keep up financially with these big clubs that are either doping or, United has money because they were so successful in the past. So I mean, it's not an easy spot to be in. I'm not saying like, oh, doom and gloom. It sucks if you're not one of the top guys. I think Tottenham's done really well, and I fucking love supporting Spurs. But I also think sometimes United fans, it's different. It's hard to see eye to eye because you guys are like, we should always be competing. I don't see it like that. Like I see top four as success. I would be very happy if we got top four. Maybe we beat Milan in the
Yeah, no doubt, no
Champions
doubt.
League and get to the
Yeah,
quarterfinal. And yeah, so
yeah. I
it's
mean,
different.
we've obviously been in that position in the recent years. Getting top four. I feel like we've even discussed this on here that maybe at the beginning of the season I was just content with getting top four,
Yeah,
and
bite your
that
arm
was
off for
the
that.
goal. Yeah, it's like and I understand that if that is a position that you're in because you know that you don't have the tools, to work with it. We didn't have Ten Hag as of yet. Like we didn't know what he was going to bring fully. We didn't have the right players or players playing to the right quality. I mean, look at the resurgence of Rashford. I am so excited. I mean, I called that a million times over. That
Oh,
kid
he's
was on
killing it.
the
He's
pitch.
killing it.
That kid was on the pitch for 2 minutes. And I remember ordering my Wayne Rooney kit and his kit at the same time, number 39. And I'm just waiting for them to come on tour here this summer. And that's one that I'll get signed and framed because I mean, I've gotten every one of his numbers. Actually, I don't have a number 10 of his yet, but his English kit, like that kid has just always been a flair player that I've always enjoyed. And when he puts his head down and does a job, it's like it's so fun to watch and
But a year
to see his
ago,
confidence get built. I
we
was
were
like,
talking about
oh
him
yeah,
maybe leaving United. I mean, like
I
that's
knew he wouldn't.
crazy.
I knew he wouldn't because of what comes along outside off the pitch. The marketing part of it all was too heavy to leave. Like if he went to any other club, he would not have the type of support and following that he has now. Because I mean, he's basically knighted. His MBE, and he's something special. And he's still not. He's 24, 25. He's not even that old. 24 years old. So he's still got a career ahead of him. So yeah, watching players like that come out of you know homegrown type scenarios, I understand your want and need for to have success within the club, and if that success is top four, I understand it. It's just for me, you're right. It's kind of like I always see United as like they need to be in the conversation, the big conversations, and it's whether you're for it or not. The pundits even are they don't even like let it slip. It's just they say it like Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and that could even be at our most dire straits. They're still going to say it's because of the finances. A lot of it is because of the finances that come along with it and the way that's structured. As much as I dislike the Glazers, the structure underneath, the financial structure underneath it, the reason why they like to just bleed the club is because they know that it's a profitable asset. That's how they look at it. Just like you're saying, it's just a fucking business.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is, yeah, it's just like I can't imagine supporting a club where it's like, all right, who's the best? All right, Pogba, yeah, let's get him in. All right, it didn't work. All right, let's try Casemiro. All right, let's try Zlatan. Let's try like every year it's just like, all right, we'll just buy the best player and it doesn't work out. Like I can't imagine that. Like it's so different when you're supporting a club where it's like you have to, okay, this is a guy who's good in the Portuguese league and we're going to try to grow him to be good. And like eventually you do, and then it's like, okay, we grew him, we grew Luka Modric, we grew Dimitar Berbatov, we grew Michael Carrick, Gareth Bale, and then eventually they leave you, and that's going to happen. But it's much more like long term thinking, finding diamonds in the rough. Like it's a very different mentality than just like our striker sucks, let's buy the best one in the world. It's just totally different. Like I think it's just a different experience as a supporter in general.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's rough from two different perspectives of a team that's had a lot of success in the past, and then a team that's striving to know what success is like. It's meeting in the middle. I guess it's just hard to fathom what that would be like because our bad seasons were still like sixth place, fifth place, and you're like, it's okay though. We had some flair players. There were some fun moments. We beat City a couple of times, like so but you can always lean back even if your rivals are like Liverpool that were having a great stretch and they're just like, you guys are terrible, this and that. But we can be like, we still won more of these than you. We still we're tied with this, and we
Yeah,
still had
you can
this
look at
success,
history.
and you guys are. Yeah, so and a lot of I get it. We get a lot of guff for leaning on the history a little too hard right now, but I can tell you what, them Liverpool fans right now are silent. Like my buddy one of my best friends is a Liverpool fan, and he is silent right now. And even when
Of course.
I gave him a little guff. I gave him a little guff this weekend after a couple pints, and he was like, "We'll be all right. We'll be all right." And I was just like, "Man, it's hard. It's hard to say that when you're fighting for ninth and 10th place, because our bad seasons, we weren't down there for long. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think a couple of seasons ago, we went all the way down like ninth, 10th, a couple of times, but only for like a game or two. They are just like, it is just
Uh,
watching that
we've
downfall
been there.
is
We've
impressive.
been there.
It's
We've been there.
impressive.
When I first started supporting Tottenham, we were mid-table club, so I've been there
I mean, what do you
100%.
think? What do you think about this with the scenario with Liverpool? Do you think that
You can't
that
fire
Klopp?
Klopp. He's
I
unfireable.
agree. I agree, and I don't think that it would be even fair, not like they did with Marsh today with Leeds. See you later. I thought that was a little too soon, as well. But I mean, you can't argue with stats. And if he has another season like this, because someone else I saw mention how they'll do a couple of years. I think it was Mark Goldberg. They do a couple of years up, and then a couple of year, and then a year off, a year down, not so
And then
well,
back up.
and then a couple of, yeah. So that you kind of have to watch, like, so if they have a consistent couple of bad seasons, you would have to be like, all right. And of course, Klopp, king of excuses, he's always got some ridiculous excuse. I heard the other day when he was talking to reporters saying something like, "Well, you guys probably thought I was better than I was when I was doing really well," and it's just, what, bro?
Yeah, but
Come on, like,
he's still too big, man. Like I have Liverpool friends here, and they say we'd rather
I don't
gut
think
the
you should get
club,
rid.
sell every player before we
Yeah,
get rid of Klopp. I mean, he's the best manager in the world in the last 5 years. I mean, he's better than Pep. I mean, he's won the Champions League. Like he's the best manager in the world over the last 5 years, unquestionably. So I don't know. I would take him. I would take him in a heartbeat. I think they'd be crazy to fire him. Give him one more season, but they'll never fire him. I think they'll amicably he'll quit, and he'll go somewhere else. And I could see that happening. Just maybe his time there is done.
well,
But
that's
I
what
don't
I'm saying. I
think
think he's setting that foundation. He's covering
he
the
might
ground of
be.
saying, like, like, hey, I've done I did more than I thought that I would, and got this club in a good place, and time for me to pass the baton.
Yeah.
Like,
Go to Real Madrid.
a lot of it,
Ancelotti might be
yeah.
leaving. Go to Real Madrid. Go win some more titles in Spain. I could
Well,
see it.
Ancelotti, right? He's supposed to be retiring. I thought he already
Yeah.
announced that he's going to retire after the end
I
of the
think he
season.
is. So I mean I could see him going there, but I guess last thing before we sign off is where do you think Liverpool finishes? 10th?
That's a
Like that
hard one.
low?
No, oh no. I would say like eighth, seventh, eighth.
So no Europa
I think
League,
that,
outside Europa League spot.
oh, that would be so juicy. Like, it would just silence them for the whole next season, because it's just like there's no argument. They could get first. They could win the Premier League, but it'd be like, well, you guys played one competition or
Yeah.
three competitions. It's just,
I think they
yeah.
crank it up at the end of the year and they maybe sneak into like sixth, but maybe not.
Well, if Nunez can start hitting the target and start helping out a little bit more, and they have a ton of injuries, so if people start trickling back in, thing is, like, where's Virgil van Dijk? What happened to him? Like, how was he just
I feel like he just won too much and he's
because
just
after
apathetic now.
after that injury, I don't think he ever,
True.
he had a few good games, but I don't think he was ever the Stonewall that he used to be before that.
Never.
Yeah. So I mean, where do you think Chelsea finish out with all this spending?
I think Chelsea are going to be fucked up this year. I think like eight, nine. I think next year they're going to come into their own, but I think you can't bring in that many players for that much money. I think Potter's not the man. Potter's a fantastic manager. I would have taken him at Spurs,
I think he's going
but
to be great for England. I think he should have just gone to England.
I would love him for
Been
England.
perfect.
He was great with
Yeah.
Brighton, although Brighton seemed not to need him. I think he'll get sacked in the summer or by the next January window, and then we'll see who comes in. You'd need a big personality like a Zidane to come in to Chelsea to succeed. So
Oh,
my guess is Liverpool pick it up and finish sixth or seventh, and Chelsea eighth or ninth. I would say City are going to somehow turn around and win the league. Arsenal second, United third, Spurs fourth. That's my prediction.
okay. All right. All
But
right.
Prem
Okay.
Pals will be back on a more regular cadence next Monday. So
Yeah. And for those that were watching YouTube, please smash a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And Sorry about the construction in the back. I'm creating this new studio for my other channel as well. But as I was going through these boxes, I found something pretty nice and special. This little guy right here
Oh
from Leon when we went to
shit.
the Euros, Alex and I was looking for the
Belgium,
Portugal and
Italy.
Iceland one. And yeah, that was a really, really fun experience, and hopefully more of those to come. But the little gems you find when you're finally going through your boxes for Man Cave. I
Oh, that's
found
a
a
great find.
Manchester United Sevilla Champions League ticket as well. So yeah, I mean, there Prem Pals will be back, and we will try and be a lot more consistent. But smash a like, subscribe on all of these platforms. We enjoy you listening. Thank you, and sorry if we ramble a little bit too much, but
Adios.
much love.